There, welcome back to Korea with Chandru channel. Today, I'm going to talk about this TaxMate AI. So I created this with Gemini and as well as with Firebase. TaxMate AI is kind of an intelligent, user-friendly application. It was designed just to simplify the UK tax filing process. So what it does is it provides user with personalized tax deduction suggestions by leveraging the power of generative AI. I built this app with a modern tech stack, including Next.js, React, Tailwind CSS, and as well as Firebase for authentication and backend services. I've also implemented the single sign-on with Google. If people want to use a single sign-on, they can use that. Or if they want to go ahead with continuous guest, where they don't want to give any particular details, they can even do that. Some of the core features of this app is that it has AI-powered deductions, where it utilizes the Genkit and Google's Gemini models to analyze user data, and it recommends potential tax deductions and saving strategies. As well as for efficient tax planning, it offers personalized advice on savings and investment to help you reach their financial goals. It is secure. So because authentication I've done with a single sign-on with Google, and as well as a guest powered by the Firebase Authentication. It is privacy focused because the application does not store any sensitive user financial data. Processing is in memory to provide AI driven insights. So there is absolutely no data storage. So your financial details are processed in real time and never saved. All these are on inference sessions. So once you close the browser, your data is wiped instantly. Since you have the secure sign-on with built on with Google single sign-on, I think it is fair enough to say that it is secure and your password is never handled by the app itself. Now moving on to some of the how do you want to use this, right? This is actually I've given it as a rack powered tax computations because I've given it some documents where the Gemini goes and retrieves that to deliver accurate and context-aware tax advice. And I think it's basically it depends on what the user input is, right? The user provides the financial data through the application's form. It will ask you questions one by one, and then based on the user inputs, Gemini will calculate what are the potential deductions and as well as what are the potential savings they can do, right? So I will just quickly walk through this document with you. So one, I think for now I'll just continue as guest. So once you click on this, it'll open up a window where you can fill out all this personal information. So I think you can fill John Smith, and then you can give your address, you can give ABC, you can give 1 to 3, it's fine, and then London, and as well as postcodes 6, PV, and you can move on. So once it is there, you can provide your total annual income. For example, let's say I provide 75,000 and I have around 2 dependents. So then it also gives you what are the common deductions you want to deduct as part of your tax filing, right? So I've given a simple value. You want to hide this as well if you don't have any deductions, but you can also still show that if you want to deduct some personal medical expenses, you can do that. If you have some mortgage interest, you can do that as well. Or if you've given some charitable donations for that is tax deductible as well, you can do that. So pension and benefits, you want to add some if you're contributing to the pension on a yearly basis, you can add that as well. And if you have any property incomes where you're a buy-to-let landlord, you can still get the property income for that. You can maybe if you don't have anything around this, you can just leave it as zero. And investment, if you have investment in stocks and shares and bonds, and if you have income around that, you can still do that. You can gain value for this. And if you're a buy-to-let landlord, you can still say the property income is around £8,000 per year. So what it does is it gives you a page where you can unlock the AI insights. So before you move on to that, I've given an option because I'm kind of hosting all of this in the Google infrastructure. So if you find it useful, you can please consider supporting its development. So your contribution helps keep the server cost and as well as allows me to keep improving the app. This is not a mandatory step. You can still skip and continue. So I can just skip and continue with this. Let's go to the next step. And this page is give you the financial estimate. So I click on the get deduction suggestions. So once you do that, the Gemini analyzes your data and it analyzes what can be the possible deductions which is possible, and all the highly likely possible deductions gets highlighted in the green and it comes on the top, right? So for the salary of 75,000, whatever key inputs I've given, I think there's a personal allowance. It says since your income is 75,000, which is below 100,000, you're likely to eligible for the standard personal allowance, which is around 12,750 or something. And you also have pension contributions, tax relief. Tax relief on pension contributions effectively refunds the tax you've already paid on the money you're putting. So, given you 4,000 pensions, it calculates that you get given 4,000, 5,000 pounds, and you're likely eligible for a tax relief. And you also have provided a charitable donation of 500, which is again tax relief as well. There are potential deductions, but these are all depending on your circumstances. For example, the mortgage interest relief, right? It was phased out for most homeowners. However, if you are a landlord with property income, you can deduct mortgage interest payments as an expense. Since you have property income of £8,000 and mortgage interest of 5,000, this could potentially apply. You can still do that. Employment expenses, if you have incurred it wholly or necessarily for your employment, such as professional subscriptions, those can be deducted as well. And some of the other deductions are not applicable. So, for example, marriage allowance is not applicable because we have already given the status as single, so it is getting reflected over here. Medical expense relief is not available because if it is being paid by the employer, then it's considered taxable benefit. If you're self-employed and expenses are wholly and exclusive for the purpose of your trade, then it's considered. Rent a room relief allows individuals to earn up to 7,500 per tax from letting out a furnished room, which is not in this case. And also there is no student loans which you've taken, so I think it is not there, so we're not going to get those as well. So once you click on that, I go to the next step. So it finalizes everything. It gives the total income, including all the property incomes and as well as other incomes from investments and everything total together along with the salary. And the total deductions release is 6,570. Then you have the default allowance of 12,570, and then the taxable income becomes as the final calculations about deducting all the reliefs. Then it gives you tax breakdown, what might be the possible breakdown. So this is just a simplified estimate for illustration purpose, right? You can actually, the actual tax liability may vary based on UK tax laws, but this is just to give an estimate how much your tax would be coming up to. And then if you have paid any tax, you can also, for example, you have paid this through PE, if you've already paid certain tax, just if you calculate this, what will happen is that it will deduct the tax and will say what is the remaining total to pay. For example, when we saw this previously, it was 15,404, and if you've already made some payments to HMRC, then it becomes 10,404. So this gives you an approximate estimate. So it's like a guideline on what are the potential things you can do. And once you're done with that, you can go to your HMRC website and start filing the tax around this, right? So, but it is very I would say that it all gives an approximate estimate, because sometimes there might be changes which has come up newly from the government on some tax laws, so you may want to refer that as well. But this will give a fair idea of what needs to be done and what are the other tax reliefs applicable for you. I think that's kind of the end of the app. And so apart from the tax deductions, right, which gives you a fair idea of what's going to be this, you can also do a tax efficiency planning. So this is a kind of the financial assistant, which will give you personalized financial advice. So if you want to get a personalized plan to help you save and invest efficiently to reach your financial goals, you may want to try this one as well, right? So for example, so I've set kind of an annual income target of around £140,000. If I want to reach that, what should I do? And if I have current savings investments, let's say like I have around 10,000 in my bank account, and my risk appetite is more like I want to make it high as soon as possible. So when I click on this get tax efficiency plan button, so what Gemini does is it kinds of generates a personalized plan. So and it advises you what needs to be done next from your side. So for example, your savings plan, £150 requires monthly savings to achieve. Oh, I think it's 140,000. Just say there's a mistake there. So instead of 140,000, I just put it as 14,000. So now I corrected that, so it became 140,000. So in order to achieve this annual income of 140,000, so it says that to reach a target annual income of 140,000 from your current 89,000, you need to bridge a gap of 51,000 per year, assuming a 4% safe withdrawal rate from your investments. You need a total investment of £1,275,000. The current savings are 10,000. You need to accumulate an additional £1,650,000 for this one, right? So over 20 years, assuming an average investment growth of around 7% per year, you need to save approximately £1,700 per year. Given your income of 9,000, achieving the savings rate is feasible by carefully budgeting and prioritizing plans as well. And it also gives you a couple of suggested investments, like where you look at stocks and shares ISA, which gives you around 8 to 12%. And it also says the annualized allowance is around 20,000, but given your risk appetite, you can allocate a significant portion of your ISA to equities for higher potential growth. And also it suggests that you can invest in a SIP plan. So SIP is kind of a personal pension where you use control of your investments, and at a higher tax period you will receive significant tax on your contributions. You can invest in a variety of assets. So what it does is it gets as much as details as possible. Since your risk appetite is very high, it is also saying that you can also invest in venture capital trust, right, which is a small unlisted UK company, like the tech IT companies or tech startups, which they offer generous tax benefits, including 30% income tax relief on investments up to 20,000 per tax year, tax-free dividends, and as is no capital gain tax on disposals as well. But these are very high risk investments. This is not a financial advice, but what Gemini is doing is that since you put down a risk appetite as high, it is coming back with whatever is possible to reach a particular goal of 140,000 as an annual income. That's kind of the goal which is saying. If you want to make it as medium, you can still suggest to certain plans as well. What I will do is I'll make the risk appetite as medium for now, and I'll click on the get tax efficiency plan. So once I do that, if you look at this, right, so it is saying that you may want to do only investment trusts, a company that invests in a portfolio of other companies. They can provide diversification, access to a range of market and sectors. It doesn't kind of pitch you with the venture capitalist idea. So it says that yeah, you may want to do this at a lesser amount if you, because your appetite is medium, and you want to look at certain investment trusts which are going to give you an yield of around 5 to 7% per year. I think overall, so what this app does is it gives you both the deductions and as well as the tax efficiency. So these are all approximate numbers, and I kind of put down whatever is possible as products available in the market for now in the UK. But this can be enhanced. So as tax laws change and new products come through, we can try to customize this so that it ups to that. And what Gemini will do is that it establishes the guardrail that it doesn't hallucinate. So it provided with the RAG and the context and all the documents, so it will give you kind of an approximate results of what you want to do as a for your finance planning and everything. So I think that's what I intend to make from this app. It gives you a bit of advice of what are the products available in the market, what you can do to reach your financial goals. I think that's about it. So what I can do is I will come up with, I have some other projects lined up as well, something to do with AI agents. So I'll build that and I'll come back to you in maybe the next couple of weeks, and then we'll talk about it as well again. Thank you then. Thanks everyone.